I advise that the Congress declare the recent course of the Imperial German government to be, in fact, nothing less than war against the government and people of the United States, and that it formally accept the status of belligerency which has thus been thrust upon it.
When World War I erupted in 1914, the United States stood apart, geographically distant, politically cautious, and emotionally torn. President Woodrow Wilson urged Americans to remain neutral in thought as well as in action. Yet by April 1917, the nation crossed the Atlantic Divide and entered the most devastating war the world had ever known. This transformation from observer to combatant was not sudden. It was the result of mounting pressures, moral dilemmas, and strategic calculations. At first, neutrality suited America. The country was ethnically diverse, with citizens tracing roots to both Allied and Central powers. Entering the war risked tearing the nation apart internally. Economically, however, neutrality was already tilted. American factories, banks, and farms increasingly supplied Britain and France. By 1917, the U.S. had loaned the Allies billions of dollars, making an Allied defeat not just undesirable, but financially catastrophic. Also, Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare shattered America's sense of safety. German undersea boats prowled the Atlantic, sinking ships bound for Allied ports, including neutral vessels. The 1915 sinking of the RMS Lusitania, which killed 128 Americans, shocked public opinion. Though the U.S. did not immediately declare war, the message was clear: the oceans no longer protected America. In January 1917, British intelligence intercepted a secret German message, the Zimmermann telegram. Germany proposed a military alliance with Mexico, promising the return of lost territories, Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico, if Mexico attacked the United States. When the telegram was made public, outrage exploded across America. This was no longer a distant European conflict. It was a direct threat to U.S. sovereignty. President Wilson reframed the war, not as a fight for territory, but for principle. In his historic address to Congress on April 2, 1917, he declared that the world must be made safe for democracy. America, he argued, could not stand aside while autocratic militarism threatened global order. This moral framing transformed the war into a crusade, one that resonated with a nation built on ideals of liberty, self-determination, and rule of law. Once committed, the United States unleashed its industrial and human potential. American troops, the American Expeditionary Forces under General John J. Pershing, arrived in Europe in 1918, bringing fresh manpower to exhausted Allied armies. Though U.S. forces arrived late, their presence decisively tilted the balance. America's entry into World War I marked a turning point in its national identity. The U.S. emerged not just as a military power, but as a global arbiter, capable of shaping the outcome of world events. Isolationism would return after the war, but the precedent was set. When global stability and American interests collided, the United States would no longer remain on the sidelines.